to h by 2. In short form, we can write x plus 2r. Now here, what is x and what is r? See, x is called extreme points. Now, what are the extreme points? Extreme points are first value and last value, but not for the x data. Right here in formula, whatever data we are going to use, those will be the y values. So when I'm saying extreme values, that means they are the extreme values for y data. So you need to take the first y value and you need to take the last y value. So the first y value is represented by y0 and the last y value is represented by yn. So this y0 plus yn is denoted by capital X, which is called extreme points or extreme values, plus 2 times r. R stands for remaining terms. Now, what do you mean by remaining terms? From y data, we have covered two values here, y0 and yn. So which are the remaining value except y0 and yn? See, y0 is covered here. So after y0, what will be the next value? Next value will be y1, right? So it is y1 plus y2 plus y3 up to y4, y5, y6 plus up to. Now yn is already covered here. So what is the point before yn? So before yn, it will be yn minus 1. So here in capital R, we will have all the remaining terms. That means y1, y2 up to yn minus 1. So this is the formula of trapezoidal rule. Now we need to think how we can convert this one into computer program. Right? So let's try to understand the logic first. Then I'll take you to the computer program. We'll understand the program there and we'll run it. So let's try to understand the logic. So when you see any example of trapezoidal rule, what kind of data you will have in your question? Right? You already have studied this method in classwork. So you have the examples of these methods, right? So in any example of trapezoidal rule, what kind of data we have? Let me write an example here. Example, calculate integration 0 to 1, 1 upon 1 plus x dx with n is equal to 10. Right? So this kind of question you have for trapezoidal, for Simpson 1 by 3 and for Simpson 3 by 8. Now, if you observe the example here, what kind of data we have as input? So you observe here, first we have this value, which is called lower limit of the integration. Then we have value of upper limit of the integration. And we have the value of n here. What is n? N is called number of subintervals. In some examples, you can get value of n here. And in maybe few examples, you can also get value of h. So either you will have n value or you will have h value. Right? So these three values will be input values for us, which we will get from the user. So a equal to 0, b equal to 1, which is your upper limit, and n is equal to 10. These three will be user defined values. That means we will ask user to enter these three values. Now, apart from these values, there is one more thing which we need to give as input, but in a different way. And that is our function f of x. Function f of x for which we want to do integration. And we also call it y equal to f of x. So we need to define this function f of x in computer program, right? In our C program. So this function f of x we will define inside the program the way we are defining in Newton-Raphson, bisection and other methods. And if you remember, in those methods, we were defining the function f of x in the program. So similar way, we will define function f of x here inside the program. So that means when you are running the program for 1 upon 1 plus x, it will only use function 1 upon 1 plus x. So if you want to run the program for different function or for different example, then you need to change function f of x manually in the program, right? So this will be our fourth input. So these four things will be the input for us. Function f of x, which will be inside the program. then A, B, and N, which three will be the user defined values. So this is something about input. Then once we have the input value available with us, then next step we want to calculate the value of H. Now what is the formula of H? The formula of H is like this: B minus A divided by N. So these three values A, B, and N will be available with us from the input. So because of this formula, we can calculate the value of H. Now once we have the value of H available with us, then second, we need to calculate or generate X and Y values, because ultimately in our formula we need to use the values of Y. So first we need to calculate those values of Y. Now how we can get the values of Y? Values of Y can be given like this: Y equal to f of x. That means we can calculate them with the help of function f of x. But again, in order to calculate f of x, we need to give x value as input to this function f of x. That means first we have to generate the values of x, and then those values we can give as input to function f of x, and ultimately we can get the values of y. So now let's try to understand how we can generate the values of x. For that, try to understand the logic. Your first x value, that means x0, it is always your lower bound a. So here in this example, our lower bound is 0. So your first x value is always your lower bound. Then how you can get your next x value? X1. Your next x1 value is given by adding 1 times h to your initial value x0. That means you need to add 1 time h to your x0. That means, for example, if your h value is 0.1, then this will be 0 plus 1 into 0.1. So that will be 0.1. Similarly, if you want to calculate next value x2, then you need to take x0 plus 2 times h. So whatever your suffix is there in your bracket, you need to multiply that value with h. So for x1, we need to take 1 into h. For x2, we need to take 2 into h. For x3, we need to take x0 plus 3 into h. Right? So this way we can calculate x1, x2, and x3. Now, can someone tell me, if this is the process of generating x values, what will be the general formula for xi? Can someone tell me what I can write for xi by observing the values of x1, x2, and x3? Observe the pattern in x1, x2, and x3 and try to generalize it. So can someone tell me what I can write for xi? Okay, Tilaun says xn equal to x0 plus nh. Yes, correct. You have given the formula for n, but I'll write it for I. So it will be xi is equal to x0 plus I into h. So this is the general formula for calculating or generating all the values of x. So this is the logic to generate the values of x. And obviously we have in general formula we have I here, and we will manage that I by for loop. So in order to generate x values, we will run a for loop from I equal to 0 to I equal to n, and inside the for loop we'll generate the x values with this logic: xi is equal to x0 plus I into h. So because of this formula, all the x values will be generated. Now what about y values? We know that in order to calculate y value, we need to give x values as input in function f of x, right? And function f of x we have already defined in our computer program as input function, so we can use it here directly. So your y values can be calculated like this: yi is equal to f of xi. So these x values will go as input in function f of x, and because of this your y values will be generated. So because of this single for loop, all the x values will be calculated and all the y values will be calculated. right? So till now, what things we have understood? First thing, we need to take input values from user, then we need to calculate the values of h, and then we need to generate the values of x and y with the help of for loop. And this is the logic of generating x and y values, right? So till this point, we got all the input values and we got all the x and y values. Now the only part left is we need to implement these y values in the formula. Now what is the formula? Let me write the formula here one more time. Integration a to b fx dx is equal to h by 2 y0 plus yn plus 2 times the remaining terms plus up to yn minus 1. Now if you observe here, this h value is available with us because we have already calculated this. Y0 is available with us, yn is available with us, y1, y2, y3 up to yn minus 1, all these values are available with us. So now we have to use them here in the formula and we'll get the answer. So your formula will be like this: h by 2 into bracket, we have to take y0 plus yn plus 2 times. Now if you see here in the bracket, you have y1, y2, y3 up to yn minus 1, right? But what is n? N is the number of subinterval, and n is the user defined value. So we can know the value of n once it is entered by user. But here we have not compiled our program, we have not got any value of n. So since we don't know about n value, what do you think? How we can get the total of these values? y1, y2, y3 up to yn minus 1. How we can get this total here? Right? It is the total of n minus 1 values starting from y1 and ending up to n minus 1. That means somehow we need to get this total and then we need to implement in the formula. So for that, what we'll do to get this total, that means for this bracket, we will introduce one variable with the name sum in our computer program, and we will initialize that sum with 0, right? So our formula will be like this: 2 times sum, and inside this sum variable will generate this total with the help of for loop. Now how will execute that for loop? For I equal to, now we need total from y1 to n minus 1. That means we need to run the for loop from I equal to 1 to I equal to n minus 1. So your for loop will run from I equal to 1, then I less than n, and I plus plus, and inside the for loop will take sum equal to sum plus y of I. Now what will happen because of this for loop? When your I equal to 1 is there, it will add sum equal to sum plus y1. So now y1 will be saved in some variable, then we'll have I equal to 2, so it will take sum plus y2. Now y1 is already there in some variable, so actually it will give you y1 plus y2. Then when I equal to 3 will be there, it will give you y1 plus y2 plus y3. So because of this for loop, it will add all the values from y1 to yn minus 1, because we are running the loop from 1 to n minus 1. That means this complete bracket will be saved in which variable? Sum variable. So now we can directly use the sum variable in our formula. And whatever answer we have, that answer we need to print as output. So to save the answer, we will introduce one variable with the name intval, which is the short form of integration value. So whatever value is calculated by this formula, it will be saved in this variable, integration value. And finally, we will print the output. Output, that means integration value. We need to print that integration value, and that's it. Our program is done. So this is very simple and easy to understand logic of trapezoidal rule. Now let's try to execute the same logic in the computer program. Let's try to understand the program line by line, right? And then we'll try to execute that. So for that, let me share my full screen. Yes. So full screen is there. Now let me show you the code. Yes, as you can see on your screen, this is the program of trapezoidal rule. Now the logic which we have discussed on whiteboard, the same logic is applied here. Now let me explain the coding lines one by one. So as you can see on your screen, the first three lines, they are the standard C packages of C library, right, which we always include. Then we have defined function f here in the standard way. First we need to write the type of function, then the type of input, and then we need to write what the return value is. So this function is returning 1 upon 1 plus x. That's why we have 1 upon 1 plus x here. So we have defined function f here. Then your main section starts. So in main section, first we are defining two integer variables, I comma n. So I we will be using for for loop, and n is the number of subinterval, which is user defined value. Then we have some float variables here. First we have x0. X0 is for the lower limit of the integration. Xn is for the upper limit of the integration. Right? You can also use a and b if you want. Right? But here we are using x0 and xn. Then we have the value of h, which we will be calculating from the formula. Then we have two arrays here of single dimension, x50 and y50. So size of the array is 50 here. So we have taken arrays of the size 50. You can also increase the size if you want, but mostly most of the examples, they will be done in this range, 50. But if you want to run the program for more than 50 data, then you need to increase the size of your array. Then we have a variable with the name sum here. So this sum variable we are using to save the remaining y values, the total of remaining y values. That means y1, y2, y3 up to yn minus 1. So that total we are going to save in this variable. And finally, this is our output value, integration value. So our final answer will be saved in this variable, int val. Right? So these many variables we need to implement the code. Now next we need to take the values from user, the input values. So first we are asking user to enter the lower limit a, and that value will be saved in x0. Then we are asking user to enter the upper limit b, and that value will be saved in xn. Right? Then after we are asking user to enter the value of n, that means number of subinterval, and that will be saved in n. And from these three values we can calculate the value of h, because what is the formula of h? H is equal to b minus a upon n. But the value of a and b, they are saved in x0 and xn. So because of this, your formula of h will be xn minus x0 divided by n. So now we got the value of h from this formula. Next, we need to generate the x and y values from the logic which we have discussed on whiteboard. So as you can see here, what is the logic of x and y value? We can get the xi value from this, xi equal to x0 plus I into h. Right? And for I, the for loop will be running from 0 to n. So as you can see in your computer program, your for loop is running from 0 to n, and xi is given by x0 plus I into h. What is x0? X0 is the lower bound of your integration. Right? And these x values will be given as input in function f, so that we can get the y values. So your y values are given by yi is equal to f of xi. And then with the help of printf statement, we are printing the values of x and y just for our reference, so that we can know that the values are printed correctly or not. So we are printing the values of x and y for our reference. Then once we have the values of x and y, then we can go to the formula. But the formula of trapezoidal rule is like this: h by 2 into y0 plus yn plus 2 times the remaining terms. But the remaining terms we are going to save in some variable, and we need to generate some variable with the help of for loop. So first we need to take sum equal to 0. So we are initializing sum with 0. Right? And we need to add all the y values starting from y equal to 1 to y equal to n minus 1 inside some variable. So for that we will take for loop, which will start from I equal to 1. It will go up to n minus 1. And this logic, sum equal to sum plus yi, will take all the y values in some variable. So first it will take y1, then y2, then y3, and it will go up to n minus 1. So all the remaining y terms will be saved in some variable. And finally, we are using that some variable here in the formula. So because of this, your final integration value will be saved in this variable. And then with the help of printf statement, we are printing the final output. And that's it. Your program is done. So this way you can make your program for trapezoidal rule. Now let's try to validate this code and let's see whether the output is correct or not. But before we run this program, first we should know what is the actual answer. Because if we run the program, we'll get the output. But how we can know that the output is correct? So before that, we need to know the actual value of the integration so that we can compare it with the output. So which integration we are using here in this program? Here we are using the integration 0 to 1, 1 upon 1 plus x dx. So first let's try to integrate this so that we can know the actual value, so that we can compare that actual value with our answer. So here the integration of 1 upon 1 plus x will be ln 1 plus x. The integration limits are 0 to 1. So for upper limit it will be ln 1 plus 1, minus for lower limit it will be ln 1 plus 0. So this will be ln 2 minus ln 1, but the value of ln 1 is 0. So finally we will have ln 2 here. Like this in decimals, 0.6931. Right? This is the 4 decimal value of ln 2. So you can also verify this thing from calculator that ln 2 is equal to 0.6931. That means if our computer program is working correctly, then our final output should be near to this value. Right? So let's try to verify this from our computer program. So let's try to run this. Yes, so we don't have any errors or warning. Yeah, so we have this output window here. So first it is asking us to enter the value of lower limit. So what is the lower limit in our example? Lower limit is 0, upper limit is 1. And now here it is asking us to enter the value of n. Now what is n? N is the number of subintervals. And the accuracy of your answer will depend on number of subinterval. So the larger the value of n, the more accurate your answer is. Right? Let's try to verify this thing. First, let me enter n equal to 4. So when I enter n equal to 4, as you can see, all the x and y values are printed correctly. And the answer is 0.697024. And what was the actual value? Actual value is 0.6931. So you can see that first 2 digits are matching here. That means the accuracy here is 2 decimal accuracy. So when we are taking n equal to 4, the accuracy is 2 decimal. But if we increase the value of n, then again your accuracy will increase. Let's try to verify this thing. Let's try to run this program again. And this time we'll enter n equal to 10. Yes, so first let's enter lower bound 0, upper bound 1, and this time let's enter n equal to 10. So as you can see, for n equal to 10, all the x and y values are printed, and your final answer is 0.693771. And what is the actual value? Actual value is 0.6931. That means 3 digits are matching now. So the accuracy is now of 3 decimal. So once you increase your n value, your accuracy will increase. So for n equal to 10, we have the accuracy of 3 decimals. Now let's take n equal to 40. Let's see what we have. So when we enter n equal to 40, let's see, a equal to 0, b equal to 1, n equal to 40. all the x and y values are printed, and your final answer is 0.693186. So as you can see, all four digits are matching here. So now the accuracy is of 4 decimal. So your accuracy of your answer will depend on what number of subintervals you are choosing, right? So as we can observe here, the output is matching with the actual answer. That means the program is working correctly. So this program is working correctly. So now I request all of you to take a screenshot of this code for your reference. Please take a screenshot of this for your reference. And once the screenshot is done, let me know in the chat box. Leave a message in the chat box. Once the screenshot is done, quickly take a screenshot. All of you need to reply once the screenshot is done. Okay, so I hope the screenshot is done. So now we have successfully compiled and executed the program of trapezoidal rule, right? So now I will explain you how to convert this trapezoidal code into Simpson 1 by 3 by making only few changes. Because process wise, trapezoidal and Simpson 1 by 3, they are very much similar, only the formula is different. So first we need to compare both the formulas. We need to see what changes are there, and then we need to execute those changes in this program, and we can easily convert it to Simpson 1 by 3. So now we'll convert this program into Simpson 1 by 3. But before that, we need to understand those changes. So for that, let me write both the formulas here. Okay, guys, give me 2 minutes. I'll be back in 2 minutes. My laptop lost connection. Please be here. Yes, we are back now. Let me share my full screen. Yes, so now we are trying to convert the program of trapezoidal rule to Simpson 1 by 3, right? So for that, we have to make few changes in the program. And to understand those changes, let's see both the formulas of trapezoidal rule and Simpson 1 by 3. So the formula of trapezoidal rule is like this: integration a to b fx dx is equal to h by 2 y0 plus yn plus 2 times the remaining terms. This is the formula of trapezoidal. And what is the formula of Simpson 1 by 3 rule? Simpson 1 by 3 rule is like this. It is integration a to b fx dx is equal to, we have h by 3 here, then y0 plus yn plus 4 times all the y value with odd suffix. Odd suffix means y1, y3, y5 and so on, plus 2 times all the y value with even suffix. Even suffix means y2 plus y4 plus y6 and so on. So previously in the trapezoidal rule, the remaining y values, they were in a single bracket. But here the remaining values are divided in two categories. First category, first bracket will have all the y value with odd suffix, and second category or second bracket will have all the y values with even suffix. So odd suffix y values are together in a single bracket and even suffix y values are together in a single bracket. So here the remaining values need to be separated in two categories. So we need to think the logic for this. Apart from this, what other changes you can observe here? First change is this: h by 2 and h by 3. So first we need to replace h by 2 with h by 3 when we change the trapezoidal rule to Simpson 1 by 3. Then in the yes, guys, am I audible? I think there was some network issue.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. So as you can see here, we need two different variables. For this bracket, we will use sum1, and for this bracket, we will use sum2. Okay, I guess this screen sharing is also gone. Yes. So for these two brackets, we need to use sum1 and sum2, two different variables. So second change will be this: instead of single variable sum, we will use sum1 and sum2 here. Sum1 will be for odd y values, sum2 will be for even y values. And finally, the third change. Third change is very important. We need to understand how we can separate odd and even y values. Right? For that, we can use this if and else condition. We can take this: if I modulo division 2 equal to 0. So what do we mean by this condition? When we take modulo division, that means you will get remainder. after this operation. So if you divide I with 2 and if your remainder is 0, that means I is always even number, and if the remainder is 1, then I is always odd number. So if this condition is satisfied, that means I is even number. So in that case we will update sum 2. So it will be like this: sum 2 equal to sum 2 plus y of I. That means all the y with even suffix will go to sum 2, because this condition is satisfied. And if this is not satisfied, then in else part we will update sum 1 here, sum 1 plus y of I. So because of this condition, all the y values with even suffix will go to sum 2, and all the y values with odd suffix will go to sum 1. Right? So now let's try to change our program. This is trapezoidal rule. First we need to use the option save as, so that we can save it with a new name, and then we'll make the changes. Yes, so save as. Now let's save this code with a new name, Simpson 1/3, and let's save. Yes, so we have saved this code with a new name, Simpson 1/3. Now let's make changes. So first change is this: instead of single variable sum, we need to take sum 1 and sum 2. Then next, here we have sum equal to 0, so we need to take sum 1 equal to 0 and sum 2 equal to 0, because we have two sum variables here. Then here, instead of sum equal to sum plus yi, we need to separate them in odd and even. So for that we need to use if condition here. So if I modulo division 2 equal to 0, then this should go to sum 2 equal to sum 2 plus y of I and a semicolon. And in the else part, it will go to sum 1 equal to sum 1 plus y of I. And then we need to change the formula. Instead of h by 2, we'll take h by 3, then y0 plus yn, then 4 times sum 1 as per the formula of Simpson 1/3, and plus 2 times sum 2. That's it. We have converted the trapezoidal rule into Simpson 1/3. So now I request all of you to take a screenshot of this quickly. Please take the screenshot of this quickly. And let me know in the chat box once the screenshot is done. Reply in the chat box after the screenshot. Okay, so now I have explained you how to make trapezoidal program, how to run it, and I have also explained you how to convert trapezoidal into Simpson 1/3. Right, and you have both the program as a screenshot for your reference. Now what you need to do, you need to make trapezoidal rule first with the help of screenshot. You run the program successfully, then you convert the trapezoidal into Simpson 1/3. Then you run the Simpson 1/3 program and try to match the output. And then after, you need to convert Simpson 1/3 into Simpson 3/8. Right? To convert Simpson 1/3 into Simpson 3/8 is very easy. Right? Only one change you have to make. That's it. And once all three programs are done, right, our today's practical is over. So you need to complete these three programs today: trapezoidal, Simpson 1/3, and Simpson 3/8 with output. Right. So now your work starts. Please start working on this. Try to make all three programs, run it, and get the output. And once you get the output, please leave a message in the chat box that all three practicals are done. I'm waiting for your replies. Please do it. And if you need any help or if you have any query, I'm here to help. Don't worry.